We are back at the Reach bookstore with another genre that you might be interested in looking for when you are making decisions about your books, whether it's at the library, at the bookstore, at Barnes and Noble, wherever it is you hang out and look for reading materials. Maybe you get the Scholastic flyers and you order books each month at school. There's all kinds of different ways, or maybe you ask for books for your birthday or for Christmas, or moms and dads love to buy them for you, however, grandma and grandpas, aunts and uncles, lots of different places. Another possibility of a genre you might be interested in would be fiction, and there's something called realistic fiction, which means that it can happen. Again, fiction can be a whole variety of different subgenres underneath that. We had talked about animals, and we talked about science fiction, we've talked about fantasy, and there's a few others that we'll be talking about. So if we stick with realistic fiction today, the book I have is the Freddy series. And this one is called Tooth Trouble, and it's written by Abby Klein, and John McKinley does the illustrations in it. And this is kind of a, I would say, chapter book for maybe second grade, third grade, depending. This one has 11 chapters in it. And it says, I have a problem, a really, really big problem. I'm the only one in my class who hasn't lost a tooth. Let me tell you about it. Chapter 1, the only one. Today, when the bell rang at the end of recess, my best friend Robbie came running into the classroom and almost knocked me over. Hey, watch it, I said. Robbie was jumping up and down and waving his hands in the air, shouting, I lost my tooth! I lost my tooth! He was holding the tooth between his fingers, and he stuck his arm high in the air so everybody could see. Let me see, said Jessie. Robbie smiled really wide, and sure enough, there was a big bloody hole where his baby tooth used to be. Ew, said Chloe, backing up. That is disgusting. Get away from me. You're going to get blood on my brand new velvet dress. Is there a lot of blood? Robbie asked, smiling. Just then, Mrs. Wushy, our teacher, came over and said, Oh, it's just a little bit of blood. Why don't you go over to the sink and rinse your mouth out with water? Just swish and spit, but don't swallow. Yeah, blood is cool, said Jessie, but you don't want to drink it. You'll get a stomachache. Actually, blood is mostly water. Said Robbie, so it really won't hurt you. Robbie is a science genius. He's read about 1 million books and he knows everything about everything. But only Dracula actually drinks blood, I said. And so does Mr. Pendergast, Max said, laughing. Mr. Pendergast, in case you don't know, is our principal. We call him the skunk. His hair is black except for a thin gray stripe that runs right down the middle. But that's not why we call him the skunk. We call him the skunk because his breath stinks. Whenever he talks to you, you think you're going to pass out from the smell. Here's a bag to put your tooth in, Robbie, so you don't lose it, said Mrs. Wushy, holding up a plastic sandwich bag. You have to keep it safe so you can put it under your pillow tonight for the tooth fairy. Once you're finished, then come to the rug and you can sign the big tooth. The big tooth. I hate that big tooth. Mrs. Wushy puts up a new tooth every month, and you get to write your name on this big paper tooth every time your tooth falls out. Jessie, nothing scares me, Sanchez got to sign her name on there twice. Max, the Meanie Sellars, went up to sign his name for the 3rd time last week. And Chloe, I'm so wonderful, Winters, has written her name on there 4 times already this year. I haven't even gotten to sign my name even one lousy time. Great, just great, I mumbled. My dumb old teeth don't want to come out. Before today, Robbie and I were the only ones who hadn't lost a tooth yet. Now I'm the only one. The only one who hasn't lost a tooth. Everyone, please come to the rug, said Mrs. Wushy. It's time for Robbie to sign the tooth. Whoop-de-doo for him, I muttered. Let's have a party. Robbie strutted proudly up to the front of the room. Here you go, Robbie, said Mrs. Wushy, handing him the special pen with the smiling tooth on top. Robbie took the pen and signed his name really big. R-O-B-B-I-E. Congratulations, said Mrs. Wushy, and everyone clapped loudly for Robbie. Well, everyone except me. Now let's see, said Mrs. Wushy as she pointed at our tooth graph. It looks like Freddy Thresher is the only one who hasn't lost a tooth yet. Great! Did she have to announce it to the whole class? Now everyone was staring at me, and I think a couple of kids were laughing. I was so embarrassed. My face got as red as a tomato. I wished I could make myself invisible. Can I go to the bathroom? I asked Mrs. Wushy. Sure, she said. I didn't walk. I bolted to the bathroom. I just wanted to get out of there. When I was safe inside the bathroom, I first checked to make sure no one else was in there, and then I looked in the mirror and smiled really big. Hey, would just one of you stupid teeth come out already? I yelled. I decided right then and there that no matter what, I was going to lose a tooth, and soon. I just had to come up with a plan. And the next chapter is 5 ways to lose a tooth. So, Freddy generally has a problem, and then he has to figure out how to solve them. And I want to say there's probably 12, 14 in that particular series, and we happen to have a couple of them at the bookstore for you to choose. Another example of realistic fiction could be The Report Card by Andrew Clements, and Andrew Clements has written lots of books that are taking place in school. This one is called The School Story. And then we have the Judy Moody books. This particular one is Girl Detective. This is the Talented Clementine. And there are several in her series as well as the Judy Moody books. This is Sophie the Awesome. This is Fudgemania by Judy Blume. And there's quite a few of the Fudge books. I think there's Super Fudge, and there's several others that Judy Blume has written that we have at the bookstore. My Last Best Friend is another possibility. We have Dear Dumb Diary books. We have several of those here. This particular one is My Pants Are Haunted. And then I talked about the Ready Freddy books. Here's the other one, Save the Earth, and that's about Earth Day. Here's another book, My Life as a Book. And a series called Mrs. Pigglewiggle books. And she has all kinds of ways to help children solve problems and learn how to be better workers and happier children. It's kind of like she performs magic on them. So I wouldn't necessarily call it realistic fiction, but there's some fun things in it as well. So, happy book choice. Hopefully we've given you some other ideas about books that may be a possibility for you to start reading, and look forward to seeing you at the bookstore. You take care and keep reading. Bye-bye. See you next time.